So, good morning po ulit sa ating lahat. So, nandito po tayo sa phase 2 ng ating salin kaalaman tungo sa pananaliksik ng ating kaguruan sa bayan ng Mariveles. Okay, with the theme, Building, Developing, and Promoting a Culture of Research in Elementary Schools. This is a training workshop series for elementary school teachers in Mariveles. So, this will be our first session for our second phase. Yan. So, our topic for this session is how to make a research questions, of course, the validations of the questionnaire, and lastly, the administration. Since na-approve na po yung ating proposal and karamihan sa atin magsa-survey, so kailangan po talaga malaman natin kung paano po nagagawa ng survey questionnaire, paano siya binavalidate, and of course, paano po ang administration ng ating mga survey questionnaires. But before that, But before that, tanilik muna po tayo para hingi tayo ng guidance sa ating Panginoon.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas as love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. It's the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, dalas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong bangaw, ay hinagang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal, naghihiling, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may di magdidinig. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ay nang dahil sa'yo.
Okay? So, para po mag-start na tayo, magkaroon na po tayo ng roll call. Ayan. Pag po narinig niyo yung pangalan niyo, baka pwede po tayo maglagay ng kahit anong emoticon sa ating picture para po ma-recognize na nandiyan pa po kayo. Okay? Si Sir Benji, ang ating kasama. Diyan po. Sir Benji. Ayan. Si Sir Fajardo. Sir Fajardo. Si Sir Honeybird. Ayan. Welcome po. Si Ma'am Edlin from Maap. Diyan po ba? Ayan, si Ma'am Edlin, naka-heart. Sir Alvin Santiago, present po ba? Nandito pa rin? Nasa loop. Sir Alvin, good morning. Ayan. Si Ma'am Gloria Santos, Dr. Santos from PUP also. Ayan, nandito pa rin. Morning. Si Ma'am Tracy Guevara. Ma'am Tracy Guevara. Dito po. Yan. Si Ma'am Fernaline Magpok. Si Ma'am Liza Gatbonton. Ma'am Lorna Duncan, nandito rin. Yan. Si Ma'am Regina Grace from MAP. Si Ma'am Marcy. Yan. Si Ma'am Maureen. Yan din. Si Sir Kevin Buena Flor. Si Ma'am Melody Manyala. Dito pa rin po. Nasa loop pa rin. Mamutya Manuel. Si Ma'am Nestle May Constante. Dito po. Nestle Reyes. Dito po. Si Sir Robert Rana. Yan. Si Ma'am Rubina nandito rin. Present din sa loop. and si Ma'am Rubilin Clarito. Yan. Sana po nabanggit po kayong lahat. Kung meron po ako hindi nabanggit, pasensya na po. Pwede po kayong maglagay sa chat box para po makita natin ang inyong po mga pangalan. Okay? Now, para po makapag-start po tayo na maaga at maaga po tayo makatapos at makapag-submit na tayo ng ating mga outputs for today, I'll introduce po yung ating resource speaker. Yan, isa po sa pinakamagaling nating researchers sa PUP Bataan. Walang iba po, siya po magdi-discuss ng ating topic for today, how to make research questions, validations, and the administration. Of course, let us all welcome Dr. Benji Manila. Good morning, Sir Benji.
Good morning po, sir. Good morning, everyone. Ayan. So, una po sa lahat, isang pagbati po sa lahat ng mga kasama natin sa guro. Ay, kasama po natin na guro. Ayan. Sa DepEd, sa UP, sa mga app ng isang nais ko pong bumati ng Happy Teacher's Day po sa ating lahat. Ayan. Okay. Sir, start na po tayo naman, Sir Jun.
Yes po.
Okay. Share lang po ako ng screen.
Yan mo na ba yung wifi na siya sa loob? Yung nakabukas.
Sir Jun, nag-lag lang yung PowerPoint.
Sige sir, sige lang po.
Natay ko lang na mag full screen. Okay, Sir Jun, okay po ba yung audio natin?
Yes sir. Naririnig
Malinaw
po.
na. Malinaw na po. Yung slide na lang po. Sorry po, Okay, so ngayon po ay ano na tayo, natutuwa po kami na madami po ang na-approve na research proposal. Okay? So after writing po yung ating research proposal, yung meron na po tayong concept ng ating research. I know na some of you po or most of you are now ready for the implementation of your study, no? So meron po tayong mga bumalik na sa atin kasi na-experience ko rin po yan na nasa DepEd tayo. So bumalik na sa atin yung mga corrections from the division office and now kino-comply na po natin yan and yung iba po baka ready na po talaga to implement yung kanilang study or upload yung kanilang questionnaire or conduct the experiment and so on. Okay, so now na tapos na po natin yung ating proposal and may approved na po tayo na research. The next thing for us to do po is to write naman the results and discussion of our study. Okay, but for us to do that po, kailangan po na gawin natin yung isa sa pinaka Ma'am Jaisel, pwede pong pa-mute. Ma'am Cortez.
Okay na po sir, ako na lang po.
Okay na po. Okay, so ngayon po, bago natin maisulat yung results, no, ng ating study, kinakailangan po na pagdaanan natin yung isa sa pinaka, no, yung sinasabi nga po na heart of the research process, which is the data collection. Okay? The data collection. And in collecting the needed data for our study, isa po sa pinakamahalaga din na dapat na i-prepare natin is our research instrument. And today po, ayan po yung pag-uusapan natin, no? All about the preparation, sabi nga po yung construction, validation, no? And how are we going to administer it? Especially in this time na nasa pandemic po tayo, no? Yan, so this would be the outline of my lecture for today. First, we will be reviewing the data collection. Ito po ay na-discuss na sa atin ni Sir Popoy, ni Sir Pajardo last phase po, no? Then after that, we will proceed to the research instrument. It's how to construct the research instrument, validity and reliability. Okay? And then the administration. Okay. So now, review po muna tayo. Gaya nga po na sabi ko kanina sa inyo, no? The heart of the research process is the data collection. Why? Pagka po wala ang data collection process natin, we will not be able to finish our study. No? So, the conclusions of the study are based on what the data reveal. And that is why, since yung conclusion ng ating study, ang dito nakasalalay, no? Yung nakasalalay dito, yung kung ano ba yung makukolekta natin na data, is very important na kinakailangan validated and reliable yung ating research instrument na gagamitin po. So review lang po natin that we have two types of data in research. We have the qualitative or the quantitative data. And then as to the sources of data naman po, we have the primary or secondary. And then the techniques or the methods of collecting the data, we base it po on the type and the sources of data. Okay? So kinakailangan in data collection, we have to consider what type of data are needed for me to answer my research questions. And also, where I can get this data. Where I can get this data. So, primary data ba ang kailangan mo or secondary data? And then, these two considerations will dictate us the techniques or the methods that we are going to use in collecting our data. Okay. Review po muna tayo. In this activity, I want you to identify if the data is qualitative or quantitative. Okay? Since, tignan ko po kung kaya ko na makita yun sa chat box. Ayan, nakikita ko naman. Sige po. So you may just type in your answer in our chat box. First one, age. Is age a qualitative data or quantitative data in research? So review lang po to ha. Yan, sabi ni Sir June, quanti. Si Ma'am Robilyn, it's quanti. Yan. Thank you po. Siguro para mas mabilis yung pagpa-type natin, pagka quanti, QN. Yan. Kapag quali, QL. Yun na lang po ang ilalagay natin para hindi po kayo mahirapan. This one, person's experience. For example, in your study, Yan, QL. Thank you po sa sumagot. Ma'am Lorna, QL. Very good. Sir Hannibert, QL din. Okay. How about this one? Test score. Number 3 na tayo. Test score. Obviously, QN. Yeah, quantitative data. How about one's idea about certain concept? Say, for example, our idea about divorce. Yeah, so qualitative. Okay. Income. Ang income ay quantitative. Sir Ethan, qualitative. Siguro kanina to dun sa number 4. Tama po ba? Yan. May number 5, income, quantitative. So nabibilang natin, pwedeng 10,000 to 20,000 to 30,000. So naka-quantify natin siya. How about perception towards something? Perception. Pananaw. Qualitative. 7, length of service. Ilang taon na tayo nagtuturo. Yan. So that is quantitative data. Number of children, may word na po, number. So that is quantitative. Yan. Thank you po. So ayan, in our study, it is very important po na alam natin na i-classify ang mga data na kailangan natin. Kasi so that we can identify po what are the sources of it. Just like for example, number 1, dito naman po review natin ano ba yung mga sources of our data. Is it primary or secondary? So review lang po, Number 1, books. PS na lang po ang sasagot. P or S? P, S. Anyone? Okay. Ang books po ay secondary data. Okay, secondary na po yan. Secondary sources. Okay. How about teachers? Teachers po. For example, you would like to know their perception about effectiveness of the implementation of the modular setup. Okay, so that is primary. 3, research articles. Mga published research articles. Yes, tama si Sir Ethan. Primary sources daw comes first-hand experience or first-hand data. Okay, so the number 3, research articles natin ay secondary. 4, students. Okay, primary. Yan. And then yung mga published consensus and statistical data. How about that? So these are secondary sources, secondary sources of data. Okay. Again, another review, ways of collecting data. So this time po, hindi natin huhulaan yung magpapakita ko dito ng statement of the problem. And then papakita rin natin kung ano yung naging results o yung naging sagot. Yan. So may table tayo dito. And then now I want you to identify po ano yung naging way ni researcher in collecting the data. So for this one, the research question is, how may the absenteeism problem among the senior high school students in the district of Bagak be described? So ito yung naging results. May table 1, enrollment and absenteeism. Statistics. Yan. So may school A, school B. So may data tayo, the total number of absences, students who have been absent, average number of students absent per day, So ano po ba yung ginamit kaya ni researcher dito na data collection method? Is it documentary analysis, questionnaire survey, interview, observation? Ayan. So pinakita natin yung table para kasi kapag statement of the problem lang, pwedeng iba-iba ang maging approach natin. So yan, since given na yung data, okay, so pwede na nating tignan or i-analyze ano po kaya yung data collection method na ginamit ni researcher dyan. So sa table, pinapakita po kung ilan yung number, frequency ng nagkaroon ng students who had been absent. Ayan, 528. Sa school B naman, average number of students. So ito ay pwede pong, wala pong sumasagot sa chat box, documentary analysis according to Ma'am Lorna. Yan. Thank you po, Tama po, So pwedeng si researcher ay pupunta kay school or magre-request kay principal ng mga documents, Ma'am, can I have the documents po regarding sa mga number of absences ng ating mga students. So documentary analysis. How about yes, Ma'am Lorna. Po si Ma'am. Naka-unmute. Baka may gusto pong sabihin. Wala naman.
Was given, sir, and reported.
Ma'am?
Given na po kasi yan, sir, and recorded po.
Yes, opo. So, given and recorded na. So, that's why kukunin na lang natin yung available document dun sa school. Thank you po. How about this one? The research question is, how may the profile of the participants be described in terms of age, sex, educational attainment, monthly household income, the number of children in the family. May sagot na agad, Si Sir Ethan, according to Sir Ethan, survey questionnaire. Or questionnaire survey. So, tama po, So, okay. Tama din po yung sagot ni Ma'am Lorna. How about this one po? What are the reasons for student absenteeism based on the perspectives of? Huwag po muna sasagot, teachers, parents, and online community. Tapos ito po yung naging results. So dito po may mga identified reasons na, and then meron lang pong percentage ng nagsabi na according to students, 37% yung nagsabi na may sakit sila. Okay. Sabi no allowance. Okay, according to Ma'am Lorna, si Ma'am Ness, interview. Okay, pwede po, pwedeng mag-interview. Okay, tapos kinwantify na lang siya. Pwede rin pong survey questionnaire according to Sir Ethan. Okay. Pares pong tama, Pares pong tama yun. Yan. How about this one po? How may the lived experiences of students with absenteeism problems be described? And then ito po yung lumabas. So this one naman po, qualitative po yung data na kinuha. May themes, we have sample quotations, interview ang ginamit. Okay. Thank you po sa lahat na nag-participate. Ma'am Regina, interview. Ma'am Lorna, interview. Yan. Tama po yan. So interview ang ginamit ni researcher to to get this data, no, from the respondents. So ito po, yung mga questions na yan, actually ay galing po sa isang study. No? Meron po natin itong study na to from Dr. Samuel Quiros, the empty chair, a triangulation of methods to investigate absenteeism among senior high school students in the District of Baga. Okay, yung mga naka-highlight po na yan, no? Yung mga naka-bold na yan, yan po yung mga pinresent ko kanina na questions. So kung mapapansin po natin, in a research study, so pwede tayong gumamit ng iba't ibang methods of data collection. So po pwedeng, kagaya kanina, first, nag-conduct si researcher ng documentary analysis to answer the research question number 1. Then survey questionnaire for research question number 2. Ito pong number 3, masasagot po yan by employing statistical data. Yan is the reason and frequency of the absences dependent on the profile. So may correlation po. Number 4, what are the reasons for student absenteeism based on the perspective of teachers, parents, and online community? So kanina ang sinasagot natin ay interview, pero based doon sa data, ang ginamit ay questionnaire survey. Okay? And then yung number 5, again, this will be answered by employing statistical treatment. Statistical treatment. Is there a difference between the reasons? So po pwedeng mga parametric or non-parametric test yung gagamitin dito sa number 5. 6, how may the lived experiences of students with absenteeism problems be described? So ito yung interview, qualitative data yung ginamit. So gumamit dito ng interview. So ayan, number 6. The number 7 and number 8, this will be answered again by analyzing the data collected. So ang gusto lang pong i-point out dito, mga kasama, na in research, we can employ different data collection methods in one study. So nakadepende yan sa ano ba yung required na data for us to answer our research question. Okay? So in creating our research instrument, it is very important to base it on our statement of the problem. So what is a research instrument? It is a tool used to collect, measure, and analyze data related to your research interests. When we say research instrument, this is your questionnaire, for example, your interview guide questions. Magkaiba po yung instrumentation. Okay? Magkaiba yung research instrument saka sa research instrumentation. The research instrumentation means yung pinaka-process po, starting from creating your instrument, validating it, and then administrating it. Pero when we speak of the research instrument, ano po ba yung tool mismo na gagamitin natin to collect our data? Okay? And then the research instrument is determined by the researcher. Tayo ang magde-decide noon in consideration of our study methodology. And most importantly, yung ating statement of the problem. Okay. So in this slide, pinapakita dito guys yung the steps to complete a research project. How can we choose the research instrument? So choosing the research instrument is done after the conceptualization of our study. So titignan natin, step 1, di ba? Nag-select tayo during our first phase. Nag-select tayo ng topic. Then we formulate the thesis statement, yung rationale of our study. Okay? Nag-conduct tayo ng research literature review. And then after that, pinormulate natin yung ating research questions. Yung iba, umpisa pa lang nakakapag-formulate na ng research questions, di ba? But after reading the related literature, mas nare-refine pa po kasi natin yung ating study doon, as well as syempre yung ating formulated research questions. Then now, na meron na tayong conceptualized na research, yung ating research proposal, it is the time na po that we choose the research instrument of our study. Ayan. Yung iba, yung iba may mga tip sasabihin kagaya sa amin dati sa master's degree ko po sa Manila. Ang isa sa mga tip na tinuro sa amin ng statistics teacher namin noon, professor namin in statistics, unahin daw yung research questionnaire na i-prepare. Tapos ibabase doon yung research question. Yan. Pwede din naman po. So yun, pwede din naman po natin siyang gawin. Kasi at least nakabase na sa research questions natin yung ating statement of the problem. Yun nga lang po, mainam pa rin kasi na dulo natin siya gagawin kasi nakakapagbasa pa po tayo ng mga related literature. So mas appropriate yung ating research instrument na ma-prepare. So the research instrument po, we have two types of it. Meron tayong researcher completed instrument. Ibig sabihin, si researcher po yung mag-fill out or mag-accomplish, no? Like for example, the rating scales. Diba sa mga kindergarten students, rating scales yung ginagamit ni teacher. May checklist doon, no? Ano yung no-observe niya? No-observe niya na performance ng mga students niya sa kindergarten. The interview, schedule guides, tally sheets, flowcharts, performance checklist, ayan sinasabi ko po kanina, time and motion logs, observation forms. So these type of instruments po are accomplished by the researcher. Kaya researcher completed instrument. On the other hand, we have the subject completed instrument such as the questionnaires, the checklist, attitude scales, personality inventories, achievement or aptitude tests. Yan. So instrument din po yan, especially kung ang ating study ay mga experimental approach yung ginamit natin. So may mga pre-test and post-test po tayo. So those are subject completed instruments po. Projective devices, sociometric devices. So again, these are the types of the research instrument. Now, the characteristic of the research subjects, availability of the subjects, and the available resources for the study. So ito po yung mga kailangan nating i-consider. These are the things that we have to consider po, or these conditions po would dictate us what type of instrument to be used and the ways of administering it. Paano po yun? Yung characteristic of the research subject. For example, yung research subject po natin ay illiterate. Sample lang po, mga parents po who are not able to read or write. So natin yun ang ating mga subject, for example, ng ating research. Applicable po ba doon yung self-administered questionnaire na gagamitin natin, kagaya ng mga pinapasagutan natin sa mga co-teachers natin? So hindi, no? So yan. How about yung mga minor, di ba? Mga minor sila. And then papasagutan natin sila ng open-ended question. So baka hindi maging ganun kalalim yung magisagot ng mga students natin. Okay, so kailangan we have to consider yung characteristic of our research subjects. And then the availability of the research subjects. Ayan, ito po yung ating concern ngayon na in this time of pandemic, yung availability ng ating subjects. Especially kapag mga students yan, paano natin i-administer yung ating pre-test and post-test. So mamaya po, meron po tayong suggestions dyan. And then the available resources for the study. Hindi po lahat kayang maggawa ng online survey kasi baka mamaya yung ating mga respondents wala naman po silang access to internet. So hindi po possible yun. Yan. So in constructing our research instrument, kanina ko pa po sinasabi, no, that it is very important to base it on our statement of the problem. Okay? Yan. Gamitin ulit natin itong study po na ito as our example. So these are the statement of the problem. This is the statement of the problem of the study. And then, ito po yung kanyang mga research instrument. Yung kanina po, how may the absenteeism problem among the senior high? Since ito po ay documentary analysis. Ano? So, a letter lang po yan that will be sent to the principal, for example, of the school. Yan. So, ganun lang naman po yun. And then kapag nakuha na natin yung data, i-analyze, yung document, i-analyze na lang po natin siya. Now, for the question number 2, statement of the problem number 2, yan, ano? How may the profile of the participants be described in terms of, so, profile po ito ng mga respondents. Ito yung ginamit ni researcher. Kung papansinin natin, no, in terms of age, sex, educational attainment of the parents, kung paano po natin siya isinulat doon sa ating research question, ganun din po natin siya i-construct. So, in this example po, checkan ng respondent yung item na appropriate po sa kanya. So again, we have to consider po the characteristic of our respondents. For example, hindi sila so yung profile ng ating respondents, alalaman nyo naman po yun. Like for example, nagtuturo kayo sa isang remote area. So hindi po ata siguro applicable kung naka-English to. No? So gawa tayo ng Tagalog version. So kung ano yung mas madali nila pong maiintindihan. Okay? Now, in administering this questionnaire po, or this, tama, itong ating questionnaire, yung instrument po na ito, titignan din po natin kung kaya bang i-accomplish ito ng respondents natin nang sila lang. Or baka po pwede po na naandun din tayo. So po pwedeng tayo ang nagbabasa, di papakita natin sa kanila, then tayo ang nag-check. Ang problema lang po, syempre, meron po tayong pandemic ngayon, so hindi po ganun kasi nagawin natin yung bagay po na yun. Ano? So yan. So isa po yun na pwede natin gawin para po makasiguro tayo na magiging tama po yung responses ng ating participants or ating respondents sa ating pong questionnaire na ibinigay sa kanila. Then yan, please check if the item has been a reason for your absence. So ito sa bata na po ito. No? Okay, so may question po kayo dito, no? May question po ba tayo dito? Siguro pwede niyo itanong. Kasi kanina sa may sagot nila ma'am ng ating mga kasamahan na guro. Sinabi po nila na itong part po na ito, yung question number 3 ay nasagot through an interview. Pero dito po sa research instrument na ginamit ni researcher, checklist lang po siya. So paano po natin na-identify itong mga ito? Yan. Yung sickness, family member was sick, no school allowance, no? Had to work. Paano po natin kaya na-identify ito? Paano na-identify ni researcher yan? Anyone? So pwede po ba tayong basta-basta na lang na maglagay dyan ng mga items? Pagaya po niyan, ano? Ang tinatanong dito, are the reason for your absence? Pwede po masagot sa chat box. Yun, according to Ma'am Regina, RRL. Yan din po kasabi ni Sir June. Okay, thank you. Si Ma'am Sir Robert, sorry. Related lit. Yan. Or, tama po yan, ano? And another thing po, pwede din po natin yan kuhanin doon sa ating documentary, yung document na hiningi natin sa school. Alam ko po may details din po doon kung bakit sila absent. So, pwede din po natin doon kuhanin. And that is an example din po ng related leave. no? Kasi mga existing ano din po yan yung documents, pwede rin po natin silang i-review or maging part po ng ating RRL. And then sa dulo, yan po, wag po natin kakalimutan baka kasi wala dito sa mga nalista natin yung reason. So bigyan po natin sila ng chance to specify. Specify po yung other items po na hindi natin nailagay po dito. So wag po natin kakalimutan na lagyan ng ganyan. Okay. So ito po yun. Number 4 question. What are the reasons for student absenteeism based on the perspectives of teachers, parents, and the online community? So, ito po yung ginamit, no? Same lang po. Kasi nga triangulation po ito ng data. So, pare-pareho po yung ginamit na sa checklist nila. Now, kung titignan natin dito, sa question pa lang, nandiyan na po agad sinasabi kung paano na in-administer yung ating questionnaire, no? For the teachers and parents, so po pwede yan, we can administer the questionnaire face-to-face, bigyan natin sa teacher, bigyan natin sa parents. Or if they have access to internet, pwedeng e-survey or yung mga Google Forms na ginagamit. Yung online community, of course, online yan, So through online platform yung paggagamitan natin. The number 6, how may the lived experiences of the students with absenteeism problems be described? So kapag po lived experiences na pinag-uusapan, we are going to get their experiences. Qualitative po ito. So interview ginamit ni researcher. So may date of interview, time of interview, location of the interview, name of the interviewer, and then for for ethical consideration, pinapalitan po natin yung pangalan ni interviewee. Papalitan po natin para hindi siya ma-identify. Okay, so before doing the interview, briefly describe the project and the interview procedures, ensure confidentiality, and remind the interviewee he or she has the right to decline questions and/or the right to stop the interview at any time. Yan. So kailangan po, mahalaga po yan in doing the interview. Sinasabi po natin dinidisclose po natin sa ating interviewee yung kanilang rights. Yung risk po in taking or participating in kung may risk po ba or wala po bang risk sa pagsali nila sa interview. And these are the interview questions. So initial questions are to put the students at ease. So hindi na po sinulat yan. Like ito po may sample pala dito ng mga initial questions to put the students at ease. For example, number 1, tell me a little about yourself. How old are you? What do you like to do in your spare time? Okay, so hindi agad diretsong tanong, no? Hindi agad diretsong tanong dun sa bakit ka nag-absent. So muna natin, ipakalmahin muna natin yung estudyante kasi lalo na kung tayo po ay teacher, and then interviewin natin yung student, medyo kinakabahan pa po yan. So kailangan we put the students at ease first by asking questions. Pwede yung tanongin ng kagaya po nito, what do you like to do in your spare time? Kukwentuhan po muna kayo. So yan, the interview questions can be structured or unstructured. Pag sinabi natin na structured, ito po yung nakalista na lahat ng itatanong mo dyan, and then yun talaga po mismo yung itatanong mo sa iyong interviewee. Kapag ka po unstructured, hindi po natin usually sinusunod yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng tanong na naandito. Okay? So, yan. Sa interview question, i-guide naman po tayo kung paano natin isusulat or paano natin i-conduct yung ating interview. If ever man, sa mga study po ninyo ay required po na mag-interview tayo ng participants. Okay? So again, paano ina-administer ang interview questions? Pwedeng face-to-face at yung ngayon po, Dati naman po ginagawa na, pero ngayon po ito yung trending, yung online interview. Pwede po natin gawin yan. Through Zoom, through Google Meet, or Messenger. Pwede po. Okay, so now let's move on to the validity and reliability of the research instrument. So since nga po, no, that the conclusion of our study are based on what the data reveal, so it's very important na ang ating instrument, no, na gagamitin for our data collection are valid and reliable. Okay. Pagka in-ensure po natin that our instrument are valid and reliable, we'll be able to avoid po these usability problems ng ating mga research instruments. Pag sinabi po natin na usability, it refers to the ease to which an instrument can be administered, interpreted by the participant, and scored or interpreted by the researcher. Example of the usability problems are the following. Number 1, students are asked to rate a lesson immediately after class. Okay? But there are only a few minutes before the next class begin. So ang problema po doon is the administration. Okay? So may problema tayo kasi mamadaliin mo sila to rate, di ba, the lesson immediately. So sa part natin bilang researcher, hindi tayo makakakuha ng valid na data diyan, ano? So yung ating magiging conclusion sa gusto nating yung magiging sagot sa ating tanong ay hindi magiging ganun ka valid and reliable. 2, students are asked to keep self-checklist of their school after-school activities. But the directions are complicated and the item descriptions are confusing. So, meron tayong problem with the interpretation. So, alam ko po na-experience nyo na rin yun na di ba po may marami kayong sinasagutan sa DepEd na mga survey. No? Kung minsan, hindi natin alam kung ano ba yung tamang isagot doon sa tanong. So yan. So if we validated yung ating research questionnaire, may iwasan natin yung ganitong usability problem. 3, the teachers are asked about their attitude regarding the school policy. Some questions are worded poorly, which results in low completion rates. So the problem naman po ito with scoring and interpretation. So validity explains how well the collected data covers the actual area of investigation. Okay. Thank you, Sir Jun. Pag may question daw po, please feel free to ask. Pwede pong i-type dun sa ating chat box. Okay. Pag sinabi natin na validity, how well the collected data covers the actual area of investigation. Measure what is intended to be measured. Okay? So we have, ito po ipepresent ko sa inyo, these are the common types of validity na pwede natin gawin with our research instrument. First, we have the phase validity. Okay? Sa phase validity po, test has phase validity if its content simply looks relevant to the person taking the test. Okay? Yung, for example, ang student yung gagamit, no, mga elementary students, so naakma ba sa kanila yung structure ng ating, yung wordings na ginamit natin for our research instrument. May intindihan ba kaya nila yun? Masasagutan ba nila ng tama? It evaluates the appearance of the questionnaire in terms of feasibility, readability, yan, no? Consistency of the style and formatting, and the clarity of the language used. And then the phase validity refers to researchers' subjective assessment of the presentation and the relevance of the measuring instrument as to whether the items in the instrument appear to be relevant, reasonable, unambiguous, and clear. Okay, yeah, ito po mga ma'am and sir, no? Tandaan natin that the phase validity is a researcher subjective assessment. So this is very important po, that when we select the panel of experts who will do the face validity of our instrument, making sure po na they are the right person. Paano natin masasabi that they are the right person to validate the instrument? So, syempre, they have experience po in, mas maganda nga daw po, they have the experience in using similar instrument na na-develop natin. They have conducted studies related to what we are conducting. No? Syempre, they are expert in the field of research o dun sa field ng subject natin or ng ating specialization. Okay? So for example, hindi natin ipapavalidate ang ating research questionnaire about mathematics, for example, o yung ating test na pin-prepare in math dun sa isang English teacher. Di ba? So since subjective assessment po yan, again, we have to find the right person to face validate our research instrument. Content validity refers naman po to the appropriateness of the content of an instrument. In other words, yung questions po ba natin, observation logs, no, accurately assess what you want to know. Isang example po nito, yung ating mga summative tests na pine-prepare. Di po ba we have the TOS? No? Sa TOS, nandun nililist natin yung mga competencies or yung mga content, no, ng ating exam. And then equally minsan nga po, no, depending on the weight ng ating objective, yung importance of our objective, so doon natin binabase kung ilang items sa ating exam. Diba? So at least, na-assure natin na yung laman ng ating exam is parallel to what we have taught to our students. So yung ating content validity refers to the appropriateness of the content of the instrument. Subject matter expert review is often a good first step in instrument development to assess the content validity in relation to the area or field you are studying. So ito pong face validity and content validity, we can do this po by asking expert to review our developed research instruments. Ito po yung isang example po na pwede natin gamitin. This is available po sa internet through dissertationrecipes.com. This is developed by Marilyn K. Simon and Jacqueline White. So ang title po is Survey Interview Validation Rubric for Expert Panel. So pwede nyo po itong gamitin. You just have to seek permission from Dr. Marilyn K. Simon. Nagre-reply naman po sila. So pwede nyo po siyang siguro gamitin for your face and content validity. So again, mag-seek lang po tayo ng permission from the author. Kasi ito din po validated rubrics. Yan, ano? So we can use this, tapos we can give it to the panel expert together with the copy of your research instrument. So yan, may mga criteria tayo like the clarity, wordiness, negative wording. Okay? So in clarity, the questions are direct and specific. Only one question is asked at a time. The participants can understand what is being asked. And then i-rate ni expert po dito yan. Okay? So pagka 4, it exceeds expectation, no modifications needed. Pag 3 naman po, no modifications needed, but can improve with minor changes. And then meron pong note dito, no? So ito, ginamit ko po ito in validating my questionnaire po. May dissertation questionnaire po. So ginamit ko yan. So ayan po, no? And then mag-note lang po si expert dito sa dulo kung ano po yung gagawin natin o saan natin makikita yung pinaka-detailed na comment niya for our research questionnaire or instrument. And then that VREP po no, is designed to measure the phase validity, construct validity, and content validity of an instrument. Yung other types of validity po, no, require further research. Ibig sabihin, medyo kailangan na po natin ng expert in statistics to do that. No? Yan, so may comments and suggestion, and then ito yung nag-comment po. So again po, no, if you have prepared a questionnaire or if you need a questionnaire po sa inyong study, maybe we can use this one, no, yung survey interview validation rubric for expert panel or BREC. Para hindi rin po mahirapan si expert panel na in reviewing your research instrument. Kasi usually, di ba, ang ginagawa lang po natin is a letter, tapos attach po yung instrument doon, tapos binibigyan natin kay expert, then sinusulatan niya lang po. But in this one, may rubrics na po tayong pwedeng gamit. Now, how about yung reliability? Pag sinabi po natin na reliable, no? And reliability po means consistency. Ano? Pagiging consistent ng ating research instrument. So does the instrument consistently measure what it is intended to measure? Common measures of reliability include internal consistency, test-retest, and the inter-rater reliabilities. But in this slide, sinama ko lang po sa discussion natin yung internal consistency and test-retest. Ito po kasi yung common leak, no, na pwede natin gamitin. Okay. The internal consistency reliability looks at the consistency of the score of the individual items on the instrument. Okay, so it indicates whether the items on the test score subscale, the subscale of a composite test that are intended to measure the same construct produce consistent scores. Ang Cronbach alpha po yung ating ginagamit dito. I know you're familiar if you are attending graduate studies po, no? Yung si Cronbach alpha, yun yung madalas na ini-introduce po ng ating mga professors po in research and in statistics. So ganito po yung sinasabi natin na paano nagkakaroon ng consistency sa ating questionnaire. Okay? For example po, you would like to evaluate or to assess the satisfaction level ng ating mga, for example, in this one, yung ating customer satisfaction. Yan. So these are the items. I was satisfied with my experience. I will probably recommend your company to others. If I write an online review, it would be positive. So ang naging sagot ng respondent dito ay 3 agree. Okay? Ibig sabihin po na yung questionnaire po natin ay consistent. No? Kasi kung hindi po siya consistent, like for example, ang sinagot dito ni respondent ay agree, then pagdating dito, naging disagree siya. So hindi nagkakaroon ng consistent answer si respondent natin, maybe hindi maganda yung pagkaka-wording natin dito. Nag-create siya ng confusion dun kay respondents. Pero in this case, mukhang okay naman, ano? Like for example, in item number 1, I was satisfied with my experience. If I write an online review, it would be positive. Okay? So, hindi naman agad natin makikita by just reading the items, ano? So, tinetest po yan statistically. Yeah. So, this is the Cronbach alpha. Ito yung ginagamit natin as the rule of thumb. O, no? For us to identify kung reliable ba yung naging meron bang internal consistency yung ating research instrument. Yan. So kapag 5.0 and below, unacceptable. Between 5 to 6, poor. Ang acceptable po ay 0.7, 0.8. Good po siya kapag 80 to 90. Dito po, sa mga literatures, nakalagay po dyan na excellent siya kapag 90 and above. Pero there are other scholars, no, na nagsasabi na kapag 90, it indicates too much interrelations. The data redundancy and not acceptable siya kapag ganun. So ang recommendation is to shorten the scale. Halimbawa, naggawa po kayo ng sarili ninyong questionnaire. Usually, yung ibang questions po doon baka nauulit-ulit lang. Ano? So baka pwede na nating i-eliminate yung ibang questions doon na may kapareho naman. So akala natin kapag 0.9 yung ating Cronbach alpha, excellent na siya, no? Yung internal consistency. Hindi pala, no? Kasi nakaka-apekto kasi yung number of items sa Cronbach alpha na mako-compute po natin. Yan. So in computing the internal consistency po ng ating mga instrument, we can ask the help of statisticians to do it, no? Or kung kayo po kaya niyo naman using like SPSS, so pwede po nating gawin itong internal consistency reliability. So ang tanong po, sa DepEd po ba required na kuhanin yung reliability, mag-reliability test tayo ng ating mga instrument? Ano? So by experience po sa akin, dahil ito po yung research ko po na ginawa sa DepEd ay under the VERF and I presented it po sa regional, hinanap po nila yung reliability test. No? So I use the Cronbach alpha po. Another one po that we can do is the test-retest. Test-retest, ibig sabihin lang po, we administer the instrument, no? Halimbawa, ngayong linggo, papalipasin lang natin sa susunod na linggo or pang third week, i-administer po ulit natin. And then, i-compare natin yung result. Kapag po sila ay may significant difference, so ibig sabihin, hindi consistent yung ating research instrument. Ano? Similar type of reliability is called the alternate forms. Ito naman po, binabago slightly yung ating version ng exam or ng ating research instrument. So kailangan lang po dito magkaroon ng consistent result yung ating research instrument. Be it a questionnaire or post-test or pre-test. Again, mayroon po tayo ditong measure, scale, no, na gagamitin to determine kung ano po ba yung test-retest reliability coefficient ng ating research instrument. And the statisticians can may help us interpret the results. Pero ito po siya, no? Yan. So kapag po bumaba po na tayo sa questionable, poor, unacceptable, ang recommendation po is to revise our research instrument. Okay. So yun po, no, review lang natin. In validity, okay, in validation of our instrument, we can do the phase validity and the content validity through expert reviews, no? On the other hand, kapag po reliability, we can have the internal consistency reliability, yung Cronbach alpha, yun po yung madalas na ginagamit. And then this one, yung test-retest reliability coefficients. And then lastly, dito na tayo sa administration, pero kanina po nababanggit ko na sa inyo, nagkakaroon na tayo ng konting idea how can we administer our questionnaire. So in administering our questionnaire po, we have these two essential steps. First, permission from the respective authority or the respondents. Ano po yun? In your case po, ang permission po ay ginagrant ng ating SDS, no? Or ng inyong schools division superintendent. So meron po doong ibababa sa inyo through a document, no? Nakalagay po diyan kung ano yung mga things to consider po in administering your research questionnaire. And then ano po ba yung permission from the respondents. Meron po tayong informed consent and assent form with parental consent. So hindi po natin pwedeng i-administer ang ating questionnaire nang wala po tayong permission from the respective authority. So that is part po ng ng ethical considerations po in doing the research. And then the second step po is the administration of the research instrument. Ito po yung informed consent. Ang informed consent po ay sinasagutan ng ating respondents who are of legal age, 18 pataas. Sabihin, pwedeng gamitin natin ang informed consent. For example, your respondents are the teachers, your co-principals, for example, the parents, pwede ang informed consent po kasi naiintindihan na po nila yan. So ito ang nilalaman. Ito po sample lang, hindi po ito yung standard. Sample lang. For example, my name is Benji Manila. I am a teacher at ganitong elementary school. I'm doing this study about, so explain nyo po dito. Not the title, yung pwede yung topic ng study natin. If you agree to participate, ito nilagay ko na po rito yung it would involve filling out an online survey. Usually kasi po, ito nilalagay na natin dun sa pinakasimula ng ating, for example, we opted an online survey. So ito na po yon. So kapag nag-participate sila, pwede sila mag-continue in answering or pag nag-agree sila to participate, just continue answering the online survey. So kapag hindi, pwede nilang hindi nasagutan. Pero kapag po documented, gusto natin na meron tayong paper talaga, black and white, so pwede yan. It would involve filling out the survey that would take 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Huwag niyo pong masyadong pakahabaan, kasi syempre, kapag naman 1 hour nila sasagutan, magiging burden na po sa mga respondents natin yon. So there is no risk associated with the study. You are under no requirement to participate. You may withdraw from the study at any time. And then you will not be penalized for not participating or for withdrawing. No information that identifies you personally will be collected. Your participation will be anonymous. And all the information will be kept confidential. If you have any question or concern about the study or interested in the findings, please feel free to contact the researcher. So lagay niyo po doon. And then, pipirma po dito si ating respondents. Yan. So ito po ay, again, very important step po before you administer your research questionnaire or your research instrument. Ito naman po ay isang example ng parental consent. Yung informed consent, tatandaan natin, for our respondents who are of legal age. Kapag po assent form, yun po yung mga minor, mga bata po yun, na nakakaintindi na rin naman, pero bata pa po sila, hindi sila pwede for the informed consent. Assent form po yung ginagamit natin doon. But in using the assent form, kailangan po accompanied yon ng parental consent. In my experience po, sa research po ng DepEd, ang hinahanap lang naman po nila is the parental consent. So, before po naman na ma-allow yung inyong research, before po kayo ma-allow to administer your research instrument, i-indicate naman po ni DepEd Bataan kung ano yung other requirements na missing po sa inyo. So, para hindi na po tumagal yung inyong papel, i-prepare nyo na rin po yung parental consent. Kapag minor yung ating mga participants. Yan, pipirma si magulang sa baba. Then, pagka na-secure na po natin ito, we can now administer our research instrument through first yung ating face-to-face. Yan. Alam ko po ngayon, dinidiscourage po ito ng Division Office kasi nga because of the pandemic. So pagka face-to-face po, tayo mismo po yung pupunta doon sa ating mga respondents. Electronic, yan, through the use of online platforms, Google Forms, email, Messenger. Yan. Doon dati po, hindi pa masyadong ginagamit si Google Forms na experience ko po namin sa may mga researchers na nagpapadala sa akin ng naka-document file po na version po ng kanilang survey questionnaire sa Messenger, minsan sa email po. Yan. So, ngayon with the Google Form, kilala na po natin si Google Form, napakadali na lang na i-distribute yung ating questionnaire po. Telephone, you can also use that. Ito po, yung ginagawa ng mga taga-DepEd, ng teachers po sa DepEd, kasi po ako dati teacher din po ako sa DepEd. Di ba po, before tayo magsimula dati ng distance learning, tinatawagan natin isa-isa yung parent. Nakakatayang si Kuya Will. No? Tapos we have the document po, meron tayong questionnaire doon sa tabi natin, then tayo nag-fill out nun. Okay, so that is an example po, pwede nyo rin po yung gawin. No? So kung questionnaire siya, you have the contact, halimbawa ng mga parents, o telephone. You can administer questionnaire through telephone. Postal. Kung trip nyo po, no? Papadala tayo sa mensahero. Yan, pwede din po yan. Ito po according to Dr. Marellen Reynosa, sabi niya sa akin last time, pwede pong isabay sa module. Especially kung mga pre-test, yung pre-test o post-test po. Iipit daw po natin sa module, then ibigay dun sa bata. Ang pinaka mahigpit po na bilin kasi ay no contact with the students, no contact with the parents po. Yung mga teachers po in doing the research. Especially in administering our research instrument. So these are the references po ng aking lecture for today. Thank you so much po.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Benji, sa inyong napakagandang discussion for today. So, i-recap po natin. So, pag nagkakondak po tayo ng study, so kailangan po lahat po ng gagamitin nating instrument, kailangan po validated. It's either phase, validation, or phase and content. And then, of course, kailangan natin ng reliability test. Kasi po, kapag hindi po yan dumaan sa mga ganyang processes, ina-null and void po ng panel natin or ng critic yung ating pong research questionnaire. Kapag po na-null and void, useless po lahat ng ating pinagagawa. So, ganun po basically ang process ng research po. Kailangan talaga lagi na validate yung ating mga research instrument na gagamitin. Okay? So, kung may tanong po, sino po sa inyo may tanong sa ating mga kasama dito? Baka po meron kayong issues, concerns, clarifications.
Sir Jun.
Yes po.
Sir Jun, idagdag ko lang yung kagaya ng sinabi nyo kanina, validation and reliability tests are very important po. Kasi kapag po hindi natin kinantak po iyon, yung ating conclusion po sa study ay magiging invalid na rin po. So yun, hindi katanggap-tanggap yung ating mga naging inferences or yung mga naging conclusions made po natin if our instrument are not validated.
Kasi yun po yung unang tinatanong, especially kapag gumamit tayo ng mga self-made questionnaire. Ang unang tinatanong din ng panel, na-validate ba yan? And then, paano nyo siya na-validate? Yan yung mga common questions ng panel natin. Paano siya na-validate? I-explain natin. Dumaan sa phase validation, dumaan sa content validation, then dumaan sa reliability test. Tapos nga, pwede natin gamitin si contact alpha. Although marami naman pong pang-check ng reliability, but the most common, at yung pinakamadali sa lahat is si contact alpha. Kahit siguro hindi ka statistician, magagawa mo siya. Panoorin mo lang siya sa YouTube. May instructions na siya paano siya gagawin sa Excel. Napakadali niyang gawin. So makikita mo kaagad, umpisa pa lang, makikita mo kung mukhang may supply yung aking questionnaire. So magagalaw mo na siya kaagad. Yan. Questions po, clarifications, issues po. Bago po tayo mag-groupings, mga sirs, mga moms. Any questions po? Yan, may question dito si Sir Ethan. Good morning po. Regarding po sa reliability test, is there any number of participants to administer the reliability test? Especially po for self-made test. If you pre-test, post-test po ba?
Po. Hello, sir. Especially for self-made test, sample pre-test, post-test po. Okay. Usually, sir, kahit po 20 students, pwede na po nating i-administer yon for our reliability test. Basta po, make it sure na yung pagtetest po natin, no? Yung sa group of students po na i-administer natin yung ating reliability test, ay mas mainam po na ma-make sure natin na kapareho po nung ating subject ng ating study. So hahanap po tayo ng set of students po who are similar to the subject of our study po.
Tama po. So, parang small group lang yun, Sir Benji, di ba?
Yes po, small group lang, sir.
Small group. Parang 10 to 20 or 15 to 20?
10 to 20, opo. Yes, sir.
Basta ang requirement lang doon, the same ng criteria doon sa ating original na respondents.
Opo.
Tama po ba? Tama po ba, Sir Benji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tama po. For example, yung ating respondents ay consist of 10, sabi natin, yung mga performing students sila. So, kailangan sa mga performing students din natin sila i-administer. Same characteristic po, yun ang natin doon.
Same criteria, pero hindi sila kasama, sir, doon sa original na participants. Halimbawa, other section, students from other section. Yun po. Sir, may isang question po dito kay Ma'am Mercy. Sir, ang unified test po ba sa public ay considered reliable test po?
Depende po kung yung po bang unified test po na yun dumaan talaga sa validity and reliability test. Kasi may mga unified test po na di ba? Galing sa DepEd Tambayan, yung mga yun po hindi po yun considered reliable. Yung mga unified test like yung mga galing po siguro sa regional office, no? Siguro we can say that those examination are reliable. However po, isa po pong dapat natin i-consider doon kung yun po ba appropriate for our students. Kasi may contextualization po tayo na tinatawag no. Kung if you are referring to a test po, no? Halimbawa pre-test po 'yan. Baka po kasi yung mga words na ginamit doon hindi appropriate doon sa paggagamitan natin. Halimbawa, you are teaching in a remote area. Like yung mga taga Biaan Aita, no? Tapos doon sa mga example doon may MRT, LRT. Hindi po magiging valid sa kanila po 'yon, yung mga terms po noon. So still, pwede i-modify pa rin po natin para mas maging valid po doon sa gagamit.
Para mas suitable, sir, sa ating magiging response.
Suitable po, appropriate ako. Yes, sir.
So baka tinatanong ni Ma'am yung mga standardized test.
Yes, po. Pag mga standardized test, sir, di ba? Like, for example, yung ginagamit talaga ng Department of Education sa National Achievement Test, Regional Achievement Test. Yung mga yun naman po, we can sure naman po na mga reliable po yung mga.
Okay, so meron po isang question dito, sir. Galing kay Ma'am Rubili Clarito. Reliable po ba yun sa PhilErie?
PhilErie.
PhilErie.
Opo. Philippine informal reading inventory ng DepEd. Ma'am Robbie, ano po ba yung pinaka niyo po doon? Tinutukoy po. Kasi sa PhilErie, sir, may mga forms po diyan May mga forms na ginagamit. Okay. Ganito po, no? Siguro po yung tinatanong po kasi nila, sir, mga ready-made na yan. Yung mga ready-made pre-test and post-test po. Actually po, we can adapt those ready-made or mga standardized test po na yan. Pero as recommended pa rin po, kailangan pa rin po nating i-run, no? Or i-conduct yung reliability test dun sa paggagamitan natin ng study na yon. Although they are validated na po yung mga studies po na yan. Still they have to, no, sir, they have to test the reliability of the instrument po na yan, pare. Kagaya nga po ng sabi ko kanina, baka kasi hindi maging appropriate dun sa mga gagamit. And then, sir, ito po, merong sinabi si Ma'am Leanne dito. Remind din po natin na need po natin mag-ask ng permission. Yes po, yan, tama po yan, na paggamit ng mga standardized test ng DepEd. Tama po. Kapag ka po ito ay mga galing sa DepEd, magsisik po tayo ng permission. Or kahit hindi naman po galing sa DepEd, basta yung mga nakikita natin sa internet na made by by scholars or mga researchers, kailangan po mag-seek tayo ng permission.
Tama po. Lagi.
Opo.
Para hindi tayo magkaroon ng problema sa plagiarism, yan. Baka magkaroon
Yes po.
tayo. Baka bigla tayong gumamit ng mga standardized test, mga kung ano-anong test na nakikita sa internet, kailangan natin pagpaalam. Tama po yun.
Opo.
Ano pa po? May questions pa po kayo? Sirs, ma'ams, clarifications po regarding sa topic natin for today. Bago po tayo mag-breakout room. Questions pa po? Ano po tayong questions? Sir Benji, pwede pa end ng presentation?
Opo, sir.
Thank you. Baka po meron pa po kayong gustong itanong, clarify, nandito po ang ating resource speaker. Baka po meron pa. Last call sa mga questions.
Thank you, Sir Ethan.
Tayo lang din nandito.
Thank you na, sir. Oh. Thank you.
Nag-thank you na ba?
Welcome, Sir Ethan. Ayan.
So kung wala na pong question, allow us to give appreciation to our resource speaker. So let me read po the content. So Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Office of the Vice President for Branches and Satellite Campuses, Bataan Branch. So this certificate of appreciation is hereby given to Dr. Benji Manila, faculty member, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, in grateful acknowledgement of his engagement and insightful academic contribution as our resource speaker for today with the topic Research Survey Questionnaire, Validation, and Implementation during the Saling Kalaman tungo sa pananaliksik ng ating kaguruan sa bayan ng Maribeles with the theme Building, Developing, and Promoting a Culture of Research in Elementary Schools, Training Workshop Series for Elementary School Teachers in Maribeles District. Held via Zoom on October 6, 2021, given the 6th day of October 2021. Signed, Associate Professor Yudila J. Generales, our branch director. Thank you, Sir Benji.
Thank you din po, sir. Thank you po sa ating mga participants.
Yan po. So we are expecting within this week, makakapag-construct na po tayo ng ating research questionnaire, mga research tool, especially po yung magkakandak ng survey. So kung meron pa po kayong clarifications, magkakaroon po tayo ulit ng breakout room. Then pwede nyo na pong tanungin sa ating mga facilitators kung meron pa po kayong mga issues and concerns na nahiya lang po kayong tanong kay Sir Benji. So pipili po tayo ulit ng breakout room kung saan niyo po gustong pumasok. So open na po yung breakout room, pili po kayo kung saan niyo po gusto dyan. Meron pa po kayong concerns na gusto pong itanong bago po tayo maghiwa-hiwalay, mga sirs, mga ma'am?
Doc Jun?
Yes po.
Doc Jun, meron po akong mga hindi na na update kanina sa breakout room. Siguro po para po ma-update or matulungan po kayo sa inyong concerns, kindly PM po si Doc Popoy kasi siya po ang inyong facilitator last phase 1 nung phase 1 natin. Ngayon po kung may mga yung mga dati pong na-assign sa akin sa group, pwede kayo pong mag-message sa GC para po ma-attend po yung inyong mga concerns. Yun lang po, Doc Jun.
Apo. Yun nga po, i-remind po natin, especially po yung may mga comments pa po na hindi nasisettle, may mga issues pa po na galing sa ating panels. Seek po tayo ng assistance sa ating po mga facilitators para po makakuha tayo ng ibang idea. Okay? So kung wala na po, so na-expect po natin next week. So say participants po tayo, ngayong linggo po, kung kaya natin gumawa ng mga survey questionnaires, ng mga pre-test. So mas maganda po para next week, encoding na po yung ating discussion. So with that po, thank you for attending our first session po ng ating second phase sa ating webinar. Thank you. Ingat po tayo lahat. Bye-bye po.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Ingat po tayong lahat.
Thank you rin po.
Congratulations po
Thank you
sa mga
po.
approve na.
Congrats po. Congrats sa mga na-approve. Congrats po. Sa mga hindi pa, hintayin po natin, lalabas na po yan. Approve po tayo lahat. Thank you po.